Hi, Roy here. Roy reads anything, including the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. I did a video a while ago about the earliest paperback of Lord of the Rings because I think it's interesting how what is now such a super famous book began began to be seen by a mass audience when it was published in paperback. So these Ace editions, which it turned out they didn't have the rights to publish, were the first appearance, and there was a huge furore about this. Um, and Ballantine Books then actually got the rights to really publish the story. So first Lord of the Rings, the sort of legitimate paperback edition, was the Ballantine one, and this was a massive seller. So Tolkien and Lord of the Rings spreading through university campuses and millions of people starting to read it is partly triggered by these Ballantines. So I thought it'd be interesting to just have a look at how were these presented. Still 1965, not quite the household name Tolkien is now. What do you actually see? So flashback to the Ace books where they're presented. There's a lot of talk about, it's almost like these are talking to science fiction fans, explaining to science fiction fans why they'd want to read this fantasy book. And it's also referred to as sword and sorcery quite a bit as well. And the cover shows a few characters in heroic settings, whereas Ballantine cover, you don't see human characters at all. You see a landscape. So it's giving you something. The landscape is the hero. It's giving you a different kind of an idea. You're being drawn into, rather than sort of let's follow the adventures of some guys wielding swords. You're now being drawn into this landscape, which weirdly has what looks like a sticker in the middle, and this says Houghton Mifflin Company, Dolphin Edition, with Ballantine Books. So it's published by Ballantine, but it's referring to another publisher, Houghton Mifflin, a Boston-based publisher who had been around since the 19th century. So they've got sort of super credibility there. And the way this thing sits right in the middle, almost hanging there like an inn sign, it's like this is really important that it's got this sort of legitimacy as a book. And the first line of text, the authorized edition. So now we're getting the authorized edition of the famous fantasy trilogy, The Lord of the Rings, newly revised with a special foreword by the author. So forget this piece of crap. This one, authorized, revised, special foreword. So you're getting lots of extra bells and whistles. And it's J.R.R. Tolkien in a nice font. Part 1, The Fellowship of the Ring. Painting by Barbara Remington. And moving to the back. In little over 10 years, J.R.R. Tolkien's epic fantasy, Lord of the Rings, has passed from the discovery of a small cult to become one of the treasured and most widely read novels of an entire generation. So, epic fantasy now, forget your sword and sorcery. Don't really need to talk about science fiction, it's more like it's for everyone. And in fact, you'd be baffled, this doesn't signal, certainly doesn't signal SF. It almost doesn't signal fantasy. It's an intriguing type of image that they're giving you. Um, so yep, you've got a legitimizing quote. These are sure to remain Tolkien's life work and are certainly destined to outlast our time. They stand as a major creative act. Quote from New York Herald Tribune. And then you get this block thing, a statement from the author about this American edition. Quote, this paperback edition and no other has been published with my consent and cooperation. Those who approve of courtesy, at least to living authors, will purchase it and no other. Signed J.R.R. Tolkien in a rather elvish looking script. So reinforcing the legitimacy of this, and it's also tapping into stuff that would have been in the press about this, the War of the Rings argument about who should publish it. Inside you get another stack of quotes, Tribune again, Providence Sunday Journal, New York Times, W.H. Auden. W.H. Auden, famous poet. For anyone who likes the genre to which it belongs, the heroic quest, I cannot imagine a more wonderful Christmas present. Talking of which, my ones came in a rather dull slipcase because they rushed them out for the Christmas market and didn't have time to come up with a fancy box. I don't like boxes anyway, actually. Not boxes at all. I mean, box sets of books always seems fiddly to pull the books out. No fiction I've read in the last 5 years has given me more joy than The Fellowship of the Ring, says W.H. Auden. Then, in bold at the bottom, that voice is back, telling you this is the only complete and authorised paper-bound edition containing all of the original text and maps with a new foreword by the author, J.R.R. Tolkien. So there you go. That's how it came into the world. Barbara Remington cover. Famously, she didn't have time to read the book, but I'd need an extra hand to hold them all together and show you how they join up. I'll fix that in the editing. But yeah, friends of hers had read it, gave her the gist of it, and she did this fantastic painting. And also, if you look online, you'll be able to see a whole version of the painting without the text in it. So that's how Ballantine put it across. This also was the sort of starting point for what eventually was their Ballantine adult fantasy series, where they published some 69 fantasy books in a series as the part of the genre formation. They did The Hobbit as well, and a little collector detail. Early printings feature a random lion in the painting. Tolkien wasn't happy with that on the basis that there's no lion in his book, so later printings, the lion is painted out. Personally, I wonder if there's any fan fiction about that lion. I think that lion has a life in the world that we need to explore in a fictional context. Okay, so there's my Ballantines. Obviously, they're hard to get these days. These ones arrived when we were away on holiday. Had to get a friend to come and get them from out of a box outside our house because I didn't want to come back and find them turned into papier-mâché. Okay, not sure why you need to know that. Thank you for watching, and if you want more of this sort of thing, as I go down various fictional rabbit holes, do hit the subscribe button. Comments welcome, very welcome indeed, especially from or about that lion. Okay, bye.